Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit, and this is most likely going to be an irregular series. I did say irregular before people start asking, when's the next one? I have no idea. And this is called KickSmarter. The purpose of this being to highlight some Kickstarter projects that haven't necessarily got the attention they, in my opinion, deserve. Kickstarter is pretty damn awesome, and we've had the Wastelands, the Shadowruns, and the Double Fine Adventures, but unfortunately, as a result of this, there's been an awful lot of great projects that aren't even necessarily asking all that much that seem to have been ignored or just haven't been promoted in the right way. The problem, I think, with Kickstarter is not that it's not a great service, because it obviously is, but it's really bad at promoting a lot of projects simultaneously. Finding the projects you're looking for is very difficult. It's like, oh, I want to go and find, say, adventure games or RTS or whatever. There's no real way to do that. The category system isn't good enough. So what I'm going to do is, myself and my researcher are going to look through Kickstarter every month or so, give or take, and try and find a few projects that we think are worthwhile. We're going to show you the video assets that they've put in there and give you a little bit of analysis in terms of what the game entails and why I think that it's actually worth your money. You'll see a link down at the bottom for each project. It's a shortened Kickstarter link, then that will allow you to visit the page and pledge your cash if you so desire it. Alright, so the first project that I stumbled across is a game called Nekro. Now, the page claims that it hails from an era of great classics such as Myth, The Fallen Lords, Giant Citizen Kabuto, and Dungeon Keeper. The actual style of the game appears to be a little bit of a mix of Dungeon Keeper, with a bit of sacrifice thrown in there, some Diablo-like elements, a little bit of Overlord thrown in there for good measure. What first struck me about this game was the fantastic art assets and the fact that it wasn't just concept art, it was actually in the game. They've got this model, they've got this running, you can see screenshots and some actual video of this happening. The design is very, very cool, does give me the sacrifice vibe, definitely, as well as a little bit of Dungeon Keeper in there. It's nicely stylized, quite angular in places, which I do very much like, and it's not afraid to be both cartoony and disgracefully violent. It's got a heck of a lot of interesting gore going on in there as well. Limb from limb, that kind of good stuff. The company that's putting it together goes by the name of Dark Forge. They've got a bunch of industry veterans from Sony, Microsoft, Blizzard, and a few other places, and they're asking for $100,000 to actually get this thing going. The fact of the matter is, they're in a pre-alpha state right now. They actually do have a game, they just require more funding. Now, I do kind of like this use for Kickstarter, and it's not really appropriate, I suppose, in terms of its name, because you're not kickstarting a project, you're giving it a bit of help along the way. But this kind of goal is more attainable. $100,000 isn't really a lot in comparison to what we've seen from the budget for Double Fine Adventure, Shadowrun, and Wasteland, and things like that. So it seems more feasible to reach that kind of goal, and it's a good opportunity to get involved, maybe get some nice stuff, and of course get yourself a copy of the game at a fairly low price point, which seems to be a common theme in pretty much all of the successful Kickstarters, that you are basically paying for a very early pre-order that's quite a bit cheaper, which is interesting because, if you remember correctly, there was a game called Amnesia: The Dark Descent, which actually had to do a similar thing, where they sold cheaper pre-orders in order to continue to fund the development of the game. This game looks interesting, very interesting. It certainly tickles my desire to get another game where you play the bad guy, and it does seem to have some Dungeon Keeper-esque elements to it, although it's obviously a different game. So I'm going to show you the video for this, and it's going to show you some assets and let the development team talk a little bit about Nekro.
Hi, my name is Jay.
And I'm Tiffany.
And we're very excited to talk to you about Nekro. Nekro is a randomly generated top-down action game where you control a powerful necromancer, conjure sinister magics, and summon arcane forces of darkness to do your bidding.
This isn't your average creature game, however. Here at Dark Forge, we like to approach our games from a slightly different angle. Having been inspired by the unique darker games in the late 90s, such as Dungeon Keeper, Myth, The Fallen Lords, and Diablo, we tend to favor games that try new things, games that stray off the beaten path.
Picture this. You are an evil caster, back from the dead, out to exact revenge on a corrupt king that has eternally trapped your soul between life and death. You're the bad guy, but your enemy, the humans, aren't all rainbows and sunshine either. The self-righteous and depraved king seeks to take over the land, wiping out you and everything in his path. Your power stems from the life force of your enemies. The more you destroy, the more powerful you become. You use this fiendish energy to manipulate the world and create powerful horrors such as Punch.
This little fella takes the fallen kin of your enemy and converts their flesh into a soulless agent of destruction. You can wreak some serious havoc with this guy. The best part? After he's had his fill of carnage, he explodes into a cloud of poison and devastates everyone around him.
These are just some of the terrors you can create and control in Nekro. Each has its own unique abilities and playstyle.
Still, the forces of good aren't simply sitting around waiting to be slaughtered. Even the weakest unit, the townie, can become a threat. If left to their own devices, these little devils will eventually lay the groundwork for the true powerhouses of the humans, the Witcher, and the Priest. As these foes spread across the map, you'll be hard-pressed to hold back the tide.
The fun doesn't end there, though. The world of Nekro is a living one. With maps being randomly generated, you will never see the same world twice. Likewise, the native population is also moving, adapting, and spreading like a plague. Even the mindless trolls can threaten your plans. Imagine yourself mid-siege, when a deadly and aggressive werewolf wanders amidst your attack. Will you let this be a hindrance to your plan, or turn it into an opportunistic strategy for you to exploit? Only quick thinking and quicker action will decide.
The world takes on a life of its own, and you create your own path through it. Will you explore the vastness of an ever-changing landscape, or collect items for crafting special buffs or adornments for your character?
Darkforge is an independent group of industry veterans who have many years of experience releasing quality video games. Even though we are California-based, our team itself is international. We have successfully integrated talent from different corners of the globe, and we want you to be a part of that creative fellowship.
Our goal is to open the development process to the people who really matter, the gaming community. We're making this game for you, and we want you to join in on the creative process.
With Kickstarter, you determine your level of involvement based upon your pledges. All levels include access to exclusive discussions about the game and its content, so even at the lowest tier, your voice can be heard.
In addition to some seriously awesome swag, such as the Alchemist Journal and art book, you could design your own character. Picture that! You can come up with a unit of your very own. We have such a talented team, we can take a bad idea for, say, a vampire unit, and make it a good one by adapting it to fit the style and flavor of the game.
Nekro is a game based around content. Since our world is randomized, living, and always growing, it needs a lot of art to pull from. We craft each prop and character by hand.
Why do we need you? We refuse to sacrifice on quality in this game. We didn't pick an easy art style to create. We chose a highly detailed, stylized world with next-gen graphics and characters, because we believe in delivering the best game possible. We have the skill, experience, and talent to bring you the quality this game deserves. But that level of craftsmanship takes time, and as you know, time takes money.
We need your pledges to take these ideas and turn them into a polished, engaging, and most importantly, fun product. It is not possible to make Nekro as great as it deserves to be without your help.
Thanks for taking the time to check out our Kickstarter, and don't forget to take a look at the generous list of rewards we have to offer. We're looking forward to hearing all your ideas for Nekro and bringing you this exciting new game.
Oh, and I almost forgot. Our pigs, they poop.
They do.
Oh gee, pooping pigs, where do I sign up? Well, that was not exactly the best feature I've ever seen, but the game actually looks really great. Art style looks fantastic. The general vibe of complete and total twisted evil is awesome as well. I think the development team's got the right attitude. They obviously have a good vision of what they want, and they have quite a lot to show for it already. It's obvious that this game is a thing. It exists. It's not just on paper. It's in a pre-alpha state, and it looks like they've got it nailed down quite nicely in terms of its aesthetic and what they're trying to get out of the game. I particularly like the idea that you're supposed to be able to craft all of your gear from stuff that you find in the world. Always nice to have a cool crafting system, and the creature design is particularly impressive. I'm looking forward to being able to conjure some particularly evil little bastards to do my bidding. What can I say? I've got a bit of an emperor complex. That's just the way that it goes. Now, as regards to the Kickstarter itself, now, as regards to how much you're going to have to pay for this, so $15 is the bare minimum pledge. That gets you a DRM-free copy of Nekro and access to the community forums. If you pledge $25, you get early access beta key as well, so that's not too shabby at all, and a desktop wallpaper, which obviously isn't too big a deal, but you also get your name in the credits, which is quite neat. We've got $50 pledge, which is digital art book, as well as an in-game armor set. Not really so concerned about that, honestly. I assume it'll probably be cosmetic only, but you never know. You get a t-shirt at $75, as well as the soundtrack, and then $125 gets you VIP developer forum access, so you can actually discuss game ideas, mechanics, and so on and so forth. You get a personalized gravestone. You've got a $250 pledge, which gets you a Punj plushie, which is one of the creatures from the game, as well as the Alchemist's Journey. All previous tier rewards are, of course, included with that. $500 gets you a high-quality art book, which is signed by the dev team. $1,000, come up with an armor set for Nekro yourself and actually work with the guys directly to put it into the game. So, as expected, that's one of those limited tiers that don't have a large number. $5,000, design a creature, summon a human for the game. Once again, work with them directly to fit it in. And $10,000, you actually put your own ads within the game. Tastefully done, apparently. So this is the kind of pledge that could be made by another indie company or smaller developer to promote their product or whatever. Pretty cheap advertising, honestly, for anyone if the game is even remotely successful. And there's a party with the dev team, personal in-game shrine, and all sorts of stuff like that. Apparently you also get to play StarCraft 2 with them. I don't know how good they are at that. That kind of terrifies me. But yeah, that's the pledges available for it. So $15 pledge for this game seems pretty reasonable, honestly. Personally, I put down $25. Would maybe like to have seen a tier with a boxed copy or something like that, some kind of collector's edition, but they don't seem to have that available. So $25 for the game plus a early access beta key and name in the credits seems pretty damn reasonable for that. $100,000 to finish the development of the game seems totally reasonable as far as I'm concerned. At the time this video goes out, it should be 15 days to go left. They've only managed to get 20% of that 100,000 goal so far with 752 backers, so I think that we can do a little bit better than that, can't we? Link to the Kickstarter, if you're interested in this game, is in the description on the screen right now, as well as in the description below this video. Alright, so let's move on. So the next game I'm going to highlight is by Two Dawn Games, and it's called Ravaged. Now, this is an interesting one because this one is basically finished, yeah? This game is ready to go, with the exception of a few things like being able to actually market it. Basically, they've got no money left, so they can't pay for any kind of marketing or anything like that. They can't even finish production of the game trailer at the moment. They'd like to set up some equipment for beta testing, as well as develop more vehicles and weapons and add finishing touches to the game. They don't need a huge amount for it either. They only actually need $16,000, which is not a big amount at all. The reason I'm highlighting this, not only because the game does look absolutely awesome, and it really, really does. It essentially looks like a post-apocalyptic Mad Max version of Battlefield, with cobbled-together vehicles. It's got like a helicopter that looks like it was built from scrap metal. You might as well be pedaling the sodding thing. Lots of dune buggy action, which was the most fun in Battlefield 2, as far as I'm concerned. Some really nice environments, although not exactly varied from what I've seen, and a great theme. So I would love to play this game. This seems like an absolute blast for a multiplayer Battlefield-style shooter. Very much post-apocalyptic. There's 10 classes to choose from. There's apparently over 30 vehicles and weapons. And of course, the more money they get, the more they can actually do when it comes to developing additional vehicles and weapons to make this a very exciting multiplayer shooter. It's interesting that they would do a Kickstarter for something like that when the game's essentially done. But a lot of companies are actually trying to use Kickstarter for this, just not to raise a large amount of money, but to actually get the last little bits they need to finish something off and not release something in a poor or unpolished state. And it's an opportunity for gamers to actually get a pre-order in nice and early and perhaps save a bit of money and get some nice bonuses if they so desire. So let's take a look at the game. This is the video from Kickstarter. This is Ravaged.
Fucking see you over there. We got a hold of another camp.
All right, there you go, folks. Ravaged. Now, I know what you're thinking. The hit confirmed sound is terrible. Yeah, there was a comment made in the YouTube trailer for that, and apparently they are changing it, so that's not something to really worry too much about. But it looks really nice. It's nice to see more post-apocalyptic games when it comes to multiplayer, yeah? Because, yeah, we get our Fallouts, and, of course, we've got Wasteland coming, but in terms of using the post-apocalyptic setting properly in multiplayer, there isn't actually all that much if you're looking for something like that. So I'm okay with Battlefield Mad Max, which is essentially what this game purports to be. It's also claiming to have crazy melee combat. Now, I don't know if that means that the combat is just one big melee, in terms of that use of the word, or if it's actually talking about close quarters. It would be nice if it was talking about close quarters, hand-to-hand stuff, and more of a system than the jet knife that seems to be in Call of Duty and Battlefield, where you surge forward and instantly kill someone. It would be nice just to get a hatchet out and just start hacking away at your opponent. They're also looking at 64 players in total, with a range from 16 if you're looking for the smaller stuff there. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I really am. As regards to the reward tiers, now, here's the kind of trick. The $15 reward tier doesn't actually give you the game. It gives you beta access, but it does not give you the game. The actual game is $25. So I would really avoid the $15 tier. I don't even know why it's there, honestly. $25 gets you the game, $50 gets you a poster, as well as an upgrade to a Kickstarter badge, a silver one on the 2dawn.com forums. Not exactly a big deal, and as a result, they haven't got a lot of backers for that tier. It's not particularly attractive, is it? $100 gets you a t-shirt that says I funded the game, as well as a gold badge, and you also get your name listed in the credits. $250, playtest with the game devs, digital concept art, behind-the-scenes PDF, autographed poster, and a limited edition Ravaged ammo boxed copy of the final game. That's kind of unfortunate, because if it was less than $250, I'd probably get that, because it would be nice to have a big boxed copy. I used to collect those nice big boxes and collector's editions, stuff like that. $250, though, a bit of a push for that, in my opinion. $500 gets you signed concept art, behind-the-scenes book, platinum Kickstarter badge on the forums, and name listed as a platinum supporter in the credits. $1,000 in-game wanted poster review. That's pretty awesome. I'm actually tempted by that. We'll see. $2,500 all previous rewards, plus co-design and in-game weapon that fits into the Ravager world, of course. $5,000 in-game character or vehicle of your choice, designed and named after you. And $10,000, a dune buggy adventure with the game developer team in the domestic USA, of course. You also get free DLC for life and every other title that they ever make for free. And to be fair, if you're dropping $10,000 on a video game, I don't think you're too worried about getting their future games and DLC. It's not like you're suddenly going to have no money left. Like, oh, I just can't afford that 79-cent weapon or whatever. No. It's a bit of a naff reward, honestly, but some of the big extravagant ones tend to go down those lines. It's almost like every Kickstarter has to have something silly at the end, just in case somebody really wants to back the project. As I said before, it's not a big goal for this one, $16,000, and once you see this video, it'll be 32 days to go, so they're just over 50% of the way there. This is an easy one, it really is. This is just essentially pre-order the game and hopefully help them add a bunch more cool stuff to it. I'm down with that. I think this is a $25 pledge for me, honestly, because there aren't all that many great rewards past that tier up until the point where it starts to get a little bit silly. Like, the $250 one is quite nice, but really, I would have liked the box copy, maybe a collector's edition, maybe paid $75 to $100 or whatever, but $250, probably not. So for me, this is a $25 pledge. And of course, you can check out the game and pledge your cash in the description on the screen right now and below this video. Alright, let's move on to Starlight Inception. So this is being put together by a company called Escape Hatch, headed up by Gary Gaber. So this guy was responsible for pretty much half of the cinematic sequences in the original Star Wars Jedi Knight. He also worked on Shadows of the Empire, he also worked on Rebel Assault 2. His spaceship designs were actually in the Empire Strikes Back Special Edition. So he used to work for LucasArts, needless to say. He left them in 2003 and then founded Escape Hatch Entertainment. These guys are looking to make a space combat game which is based in World War IV, which sounds a bit cheesy, although if you think about it, Starlancer was set in a very similar situation, and that worked out to be extremely good. One of my favorite space games ever. So it is a first and third person free roaming space combat adventure. It's got some tactics and strategy elements, as well as a hell of a lot of star fighting. This one's curiously coming out on PC and PlayStation Vita, which is bizarre, to say the least. That's an interesting choice, but the fact is, a game like this available on Vita would be pretty cool. I don't know how well it would control, and I'm hoping that that doesn't affect the way that the PC version controls, certainly. What I do like a lot about it, which is something that previous space combat games never really did so much, is the fact that there are missions on moons and in actual planet atmospheres. So there's ground attack stuff and there's a bit more variety than just flying around space all the time. That I am a big fan of. Not many space combat games actually did that. These guys are also kicking their own money into this, and two of the major devs on the team aren't actually taking a salary at all, which is why the amount that they need is only $150,000, because that's not enough to make a game of this quality. So it certainly seems like something that needs to be supported there. He's also got a pretty good history. I mean, Gary's got a lot of good references from various different companies that are all published on the page, I might add. And apparently his previous projects at LucasArts were all brought in under budget, and the guy actually knows what he's doing with money, which is a bit of a concern, honestly, with Kickstarter stuff. I have to wonder if a lot of these companies really think about what they're going to do with the money and how they're best going to spend it, because I have a feeling that some of them are going to end up running out of budget regardless of their success. So it's good to see a bit of responsibility and a good plan from the outset with this. So let's take a look and see what he's got to say for himself. This is Gary on the subject of Starlight Inception.
Hi, I'm Gary Gaber, the president of Escape Hatch Entertainment. I'm here today to talk about our Kickstarter pitch for Starlight Inception. Starlight Inception is the descendant of the space combat genre. It takes place about 100 years in the future, right before the outbreak of World War IV. You're a part of an interplanetary defense organization known as the United Star Force, behind the controls of fighters and bombers, defending the innocent people in the solar system. This is a game about flying spaceships, but it's also about managing the systems on those spaceships. Things like shields and stealth generators and power usage are all very important and intelligent decisions that you make during the course of the game. You also are controlling things like your weaponry and which weapons you're going to choose to use in combat, all while you're fighting enemy starfighters. The game's art style is photoreal, gritty. You'll feel like you're out amongst the planets and moons of the solar system in the middle of a big giant battle. You'll be making decisions that affect your life and the life of your wingman. When I was young, I used to play the crap out of Wing Commander and X-Wing vs. TIE, and I'd watch any science fiction movie that came along. I remember one conversation a long time ago.
What is it that you want to be when you grow up?
I want to make space combat game.
No, really.
Anyway, I've always had a passion for these kind of games, even as I grew older.
Hey Gary, I think you're awesome. Do you want to...
Thanks, but I need you to know something. One day I'm gonna move to California to pursue my dream of making video games, especially ones with space combat in them. I'm pretty driven, and I'll be working long hours, barely sleeping. You'll need to get used to a cold bed with no one to snuggle with.
Can we just start with a playdate?
Anyway, I did pursue that passion, and I landed a job at LucasArts Entertainment Company in California, making games like Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, Star Wars Rebel Assault 2, and Star Wars Jedi Knight, and eventually becoming a project leader on games like Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds and Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds clone campaigns. After 10 years, I left Lucas to pursue another passion, to start my own game studio in Austin, Texas, called Escape Hatch Entertainment, where we made learning games for students to teach them things like immunology and history through fast-paced experiences. I learned a lot about how to take a budget and funding and get the most out of it. So I tapped a whole bunch of talented artists, designers, and programmers that I've worked with over the years to help me design and build Starlight Inception, a game that plays like those old school games, but that also has modern elements to enthrall and excite new players. I've always brought a high standard of art quality and gameplay to the games that I've built. I want to do the same thing with Starlight Inception. High-quality voice actors, great sound, richly detailed spaceships, and an evolving storyline. No publisher is going to fund this kind of a game. They're going to tell you that it's a dead genre. But I don't agree with that, and this is our chance to prove them wrong. Starlight Inception will be available on the PC and the Sony PlayStation Vita. With additional funding, it could also go to other platforms as well. We plan on giving back by hiring local Austin talent, as well as leaving the door open to the modding communities to submit designs and art. Thank you. Thank you for your time and your attention. With your help, Starlight Inception can become a reality. I'm deeply humbled by this experience and this chance to talk to you, and I'm incredibly grateful for whatever you guys can provide to help our game. Thank you, and take care.
Alright, there you go, folks. Starlight Inception, supposedly going to be coming around fall 2013. I would actually like these projects not to have a release date, not at this early stage, because if they get a lot of money and they can actually fund a longer development cycle and a bigger and better game, I just prefer they did that. You know, I don't care if this game comes out 2013, 2015, as long as it comes out and it ends up being really, really good, then that's fine. We have not had all that many great space combat games lately. I think that should be abundantly clear. It's very difficult to top the old ones, Starlancer, Freelancer, the Wing Commander games, and of course Free Space, but this game looks like it might be able to pull that off. I particularly like the emphasis on the fact that you have to manage your ship's systems. This was a big thing in X-Wing v TIE Fighter, as well as, of course, Free Space and Freelancer with Starlancer as well. This is, in my opinion, very much critical to a good space combat game, to have those little management elements, to have those critical decisions in the middle of a firefight. I do have a few concerns about the fact that it's coming to PS Vita, because that might limit what is available. Obviously, you can't have 25, 35 different keys for things if you're also going to have it on a handheld console. Although that's not necessarily true. I mean, you could use the back touch panel for that kind of stuff, so I guess it is possible, but I do have a few reservations on that basis. I would like to see some clarification from Escape Hatch as regards to the Vita version and how they intend to properly balance it and not compromise the PC version as a result. Alright, so they're asking for 150 grand for this. They're currently at $32,000 at the time of recording this video, and when you see it, there'll be 20 days left to go. So here are the tiers. There's a $5 pledge, which barely anyone has done, need to say, because it doesn't actually come with the game. It's just 3 high-resolution desktop wallpapers. This is kind of like, oh, well, you know, I'd really like to help, but I just can't afford the game right now. Here's a $5 donation. That's what that pledge is for. $15 gets you the game either on Steam or on PlayStation Vita. There's actually a concern that I've got that there isn't a tier where you get both versions. I wouldn't mind having it on both platforms. That would be quite nice, but none of the reward tiers actually give you that. I have to wonder if there's some kind of commercial reason why that can't be done, but whatever the case, it's not there. There isn't a pledge tier which allows you to get both. $15 also gets you access to the beta there as well. Okay, $30, you get the in-game soundtrack and all future DLC. There was a bit of a blunder on the page where they made out that there was going to be day one DLC. That's not actually the case. They got to develop some DLC while it's going through the authentication process and so on and so forth, most likely for PlayStation Vita, but that's all going to be free on launch one way or the other, so that's pretty cool. $60 gets you all of that stuff, as well as access to the private community forums and a Starlight Inception t-shirt. There are also 2 other $60 tiers, which is where this kind of gets a little bit confusing. There's one which gives you a poster instead of the t-shirt, and then there's one that gives you a PDF of the Starlight Inception book, which is apparently 50+ pages of concept art and game script and developer bios and so on and so forth. There's then a $100 pledge, which gets you the poster and the t-shirt, as well as thanks in the in-game credits. Bear in mind that there's international shipping, $15 extra for this stuff. For $110, you can replace the poster and the t-shirt with a hoodie. Yeah, I know, this is getting really complicated, isn't it? But that's just the way that they happen to have done things. $250, you get a poster autographed by Gary Gaber, as well as the rest of the design team. You get a mug, a hat, and all previous reward tiers. $500, you get a hoodie and all previous reward tiers. That's not the best deal, I've got to say, and needless to say, has 0 backers at the moment. $1,000 gets you a hand-painted plastic replica of one of the signature Starlight fighters, which is quite nice. Miniatures are individually numbered for collectors. $1,500, you get your voice in the game, assuming you can get to Austin, Texas to actually record it. $2,500, your likeness and name as a pilot in the game, and $5,000, the ultimate tier, lunch with the team, as well as deluxe hotel accommodation for 2 nights, limousine to and from the restaurant, and all previous reward tiers. Not too shabby. This one's totally attainable as well, as far as I'm concerned. Indeed, all of the ones I'm going to be highlighting in this show going forward will be. I just want to see a new, really nicely designed space combat game, and Starlight Inception looks like it might fit the bill. Okay, folks, there you go. KickSmarter for the month of April. I don't know how regular this is going to be. We'll just put one out, I suppose, whenever there's a bunch of fairly interesting Kickstarter projects that don't really seem to be getting that far at the moment and need a bit of a nudge in the right direction. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.